my manager said to me, "You use Instagram like it's 2018." I was so span out by the "you need better songs" until I heard songs that I was like,
Well, before we get into our episode, I just want to give a massive shout out to our sponsors, Bash Coffee Club.
Well, appreciate you joining us, man.
"No worries. Thanks for having me."
No, absolutely. I know we've been in conversation for I think a couple of months now.
Yeah.
But it's good to finally get this going. Get you on the show, have a conversation about your music, understand what your 2023 is looking like. So I suppose just as an intro for yourself to everyone watching, tell us about you. Tell us about Alfie Neale.
Well, I don't even know, to be honest. I'm a musician. I live in Brighton. Well, I live in Hove, but no one knows where Hove is. Yeah, I live in Hove. I've been making music, doing this project for about 5 years now, and I call it cool pop.
Okay.
Yeah, that's just what I've coined as my thing. So yeah, it's just like I've always lived by the beach. I love the coast. I love soul music. I love pop music, and it sounds just like that. My music, I think, is the best way to put it.
Kind of coined a new genre in a way.
I hope so. Yeah. Maybe one day.
Absolutely. I think I found you on one of the songs that you did a collab with Jarkey and Edible.
Yeah.
I think it was the song Cigars.
Yeah.
It's just got a real vibe to it. And that's where I was like, I need to message this guy and then see what's up. But you got a very unique sound, I think. And I think based on what you see out there now, I think the closest link I could think of was Tom Misch, because he's got quite a unique sound as well.
Yeah, for sure. No, 100%. It's good. Like when I started, like people were like, "Oh, Tom Misch," and I'm like, "Oh, I wish people would stop saying Tom Misch." But now I'm like, "Oh, mate, it's actually such a privilege," because I'm like, "Oh, his music's so good that it's like so hard but sounds simple." If that makes sense.
Yeah, no, definitely.
So it's like it was so like when I made peace with like, because I feel like when it's like, hip hop, anything hip hop style, jazzy guitars and stuff, it's so easy because he's so sick and so like successful. To think of Tom Misch, I used to be like, "Oh mate, Tom Misch, I'm coming for you." Do you know what I mean? And now I'm like, "Nah, Tom Misch, you're sick." Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But no, he's just
no, it's understandable. I mean, I think we already said you got a very unique lane with the sound of your music. Where would you say your kind of biggest inspiration tends to come from when you write your music?
To be honest, a lot of the time, I start to realize it's just like whatever I'm sat at, whether it's a piano or whether it's like a guitar. Like I play a lot of guitar, but acoustic guitar, electric guitar, like making a beat, whatever. It makes you write such a different thing. Do you know what I mean? And like music for me, it sounds so like musician-y to say, but like I really do like have to hear something that like brings the idea out of me.
Yeah.
And as soon as I have that, whatever it is that I'm hearing like in a song, just like some sort of like subject matter pops into your head, and it's like, oh yeah, sick, now I can write something. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
So literally so many places, but
Nice.
I have absolutely no idea. Like it just like pops into your head at some point. You're like, oh, sick. Do you know what I mean?
Nice. Yeah, and absolutely. Where would you say you drew kind of most of your musical inspiration from an artist standpoint?
Oh, I would say like a lot of it. Well, I was like full on indie kid, and then like I met these guys when I was like in sixth form, so I was like 17. They were a few years older. They like failed their second year, so like they were 2 years older. Don't know if that has anything to do with the musician in them or anything, but yeah, like they introduced me to like a load of more soulful music, and like that properly sent me down a rabbit hole of like these YouTube videos where it was like some sort of like word art text of like a lyric video, and it was like Doobie Brothers, like Hall and Oates, like all of these sick old like even Amy Winehouse stuff, all of these sick like older songs. And like as soon as I found that kind of corner of YouTube, that really changed like a lot of stuff for me. I went from like indie kid to full on like soul guy, and then I was like, I'll kind of find somewhere like in the middle, I guess. Do you know what I mean?
I think we all gonna kind of go through those phases. I definitely went through like a punk rock indie phase when I was 16, 17.
100%. You have to, like, it's like growing up in Dorset, I was playing like Metallica and AC/DC covers and stuff like that, do you know what I mean? And then just started singing it, and I was like, yeah, it's like not really for me. Like, I love the music, but like it made me like, I was singing a bit different. But yeah, like, I love those guys. I love Jack Johnson. He's like one of my biggest guys. He's so sick. I remember like there was like 3 CDs like in my dad's car like all the time. It was Jack Johnson, In Between Dreams, the one with the yellow big cover,
Such a good album.
and then Fatboy Slim, You've Come a Long Way, Baby, and then I think it's Demon Days by Gorillaz. Yeah, like those were the 3 that I was like, they were always on repeat, and so that's why I feel like my stuff really does go from like Jack Johnson to like dancey stuff. It's like they just come from like sitting in the car.
You mentioning those 3 albums really makes me think of your sound now, and I can see how it kind of comes
Do you
together.
know what I mean? It's like it's such a weird mix, but like it does make sense kind of in a way. Do you know what I mean? Yeah.
So I mean, with that, where did music start for you then? Because I mean, obviously some of the music your dad listened to in the car and stuff, but where would you say was the starting point of your music career?
Yeah, it was literally the old band that I was in. We used to play, like, we played like the full Arctic Monkeys first album in covers, like when we were like 15. Like all of that, we played like Metallica.
Love how it goes from
like,
Metallica to Arctic Monkeys.
Yeah, Metallica, like AC/DC, Ozzy Osbourne, like loads of stuff, and we just play the instrumentals. So there'd just be 2 guitarists, a bassist, and a drummer, and like no one singing, or we're all just like singing the song in our head. And then we were just like, oh, is anyone gonna sing? And I was like, all right, I'll sing. And I always took music a lot more seriously. Like when I look back on it in like school and stuff like that, I took it a lot more seriously, like my mates. So like when I started singing, I was like, oh, this actually feels quite good. And like Dorset is so good, but like where I'm from, Dorchester, like that much of a music scene, to be honest, compared to Brighton especially. Like, so I was like just playing in a few bands at the same time, and then I moved to Brighton and just tried to do my own thing, to be honest.
Nice.
Yeah.
Would you say that's kind of what kept you there then? Because I mean, Brighton for me, when we lived there at least, it's definitely a completely different place to London, and obviously to where we are. But I think the liveliness of the city definitely speaks a lot. Not just on the nights out, but the gigs and the performances. And you played a gig in Hope and Ruin. I know they have gigs there all the time, but I think Brighton in itself is definitely a place for music. Yeah. Would you say that's what kind of keeps you there now?
100%. And also, like, I just get so overwhelmed in London. Like, I'm so like, where I'm from, there's like 20,000 people in the whole town. Like, and I lived in like a village outside of the town, and like going from there to Brighton is all right. Like living by the coast, Brighton is like basically the big version of like this place called Weymouth, near where I'm from. I'm just dropping these names of towns. Like you'll have any idea what I'm on about. But
big up the Weymouth.
Yeah, big up Weymouth. Yeah, Brighton is basically like a big version of that. With a lot more young people. It's a uni town. It's like a sick stepping stone for me. Do you know what I mean? Every time I go up to London, I get up to Victoria or London Bridge, I'm carrying a guitar and I'm carrying pedals and I'm like bumping into people, and then I've got to get the tube and I'm like, oh, sorry, and there's people like tutting at me while I just knock into them, and it's like so like I'm so bad at going to London, do you know what I mean? So at least for now, like I love London, but like I'm calm in Brighton. Like I love living by the sea. Like it's really nice for 6 months of the year. And then so like I'm sure at some point like life will take me up to London. Do you know what I mean? There's only so many times you can get the train up before you're like, oh, all right, I'm just gonna move up now. Yeah, do you know what I mean? So yeah, like 100%. I'm sure I'll get there at some point, at least for a bit. But for now, yeah, I love Brighton.
No, do you know what? Like, it's definitely true about like Brighton, because I used to live in like Lingfield, East Grinstead way, and I remember like after work we used to always like travel into Brighton on a bank holiday Monday. There's a bar somewhere in Brighton, and they'll have this live like jazz kind of like band playing like Louis Prima, trumpets, just like double bass, and literally every single bank holiday they'll be doing it on the Monday, and we'll come down. And I don't think I'd do anything like that in London.
Yeah, Brighton's sick for it. You can just go somewhere and there's like this like ridiculous jazz trio just playing, just like with their like trilbies on, and it's like the coolest people ever, just like playing to 30 people in a pub, and it's like, so sick.
Well, it's those intimate type of settings I think gets the best out of musicians as well, because I mean, you could probably attest to this. I feel like it's an opportunity for you to really relate to your audience.
Yeah, 100%, and also just let loose and show off. Like sometimes you see like if there's only like if people are chatting and stuff like that, you're like kind of takes the pressure off, and that's maybe where you see like the best of people. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Do you have like a highlight memory from maybe a certain gig that you played, or?
Oh, I don't know. To be honest, like I've literally only ever played one bad gig in my life, and like all the rest of them have been like pretty good. I know that's such a weird thing because like even if there's not that many people there, like the vibe's been sick. Like there was we played this festival last summer in Norwich actually, and there was like we were basically meant to be on like the smallest stage, and it was like down by the toilet block and stuff like that. We got there, we were like, all right, yeah, cool, and then we got moved up to the next biggest stage. And we were like, oh, sick, we've been bumped up stage. Like, where's the stage? And it was literally next to the main stage instead of like full other side of the festival. And absolutely zero people came to see me. But as soon as we were about to start, the people on the main stage finished. So like, they just all poured over, and like we were playing like the set's quite vibey, do you know what I mean? So like even though maybe they didn't intentionally come and see us, like the tent just filled up, and that was like a proper highlight from last summer. Like it was so sick. Like it was like, oh, I'm so glad the universe has just like worked out in my favour. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, that was sick for sure.
Do you tend to get like nervous? Does that still happen to you before you get up on stage?
Yeah, massively. Like I'm literally like the most. I don't eat. Like I do not eat at all. Like for like 6 hours before. I just can't. Like to be honest, like.
6 hours now.
Yeah, I just can't. Like, I literally
yourself.
can't. I know, but if I'm playing guitar or whatever, like doing anything for someone else, I'm like absolutely like munching down a massive meal. Do you know what I mean? But yeah, like when it's my own show, I just can't. Like I just have to not do that. I drink like strictly like electrolyte drinks and water, like no fizzy stuff. Like I don't have. To be honest, like I try and like keep myself pretty consistent in terms of my level in general life anyway. Do you know what I mean? So like I don't think like the adrenaline and stuff like that is too intense maybe compared to how it would be if I didn't do all of that stuff.
Would you say that's like a ritual for you? Because I mean, we were speaking a little about sports earlier, and for any athlete, there's some sort of ritual that comes in before playing a game. Would you say it's the same sort of thing for that before you do a show or get up on stage?
Yeah, it's a hard one at the moment because we've got to like set our own stuff up. Do you know what I mean? So it's like you go up, set your stuff up, walk off, and then walk back on. Like and everyone's like, "Whoa!"
You have to change your energy level.
Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So yeah, like at the moment, like I've got it in my head. Like I know the exact thing. Like I always say to the band, like I do it even when I play like any gig. Like I'll say to myself, like just put it out there, like. I'm gonna smash this. Like it's gonna be amazing. Always say it to the band, like we're the best band in the world. We're gonna go and smash it, bring it in, and then we just go on. Pete, my drummer, walks on first, gets everything set up, and then like we just go on and just do it. But to be honest, it's so hectic at the moment. Like we're still so at like sound checking with 10 minutes before doors open level, do you know what I mean? So like as soon as we've got that sound check at 2 p.m. and I can go and like do a few interviews and then have a like herbal tea and then just meditate for a bit before and then just all of that stuff, like I'm so on that as soon as I can do that and then don't have to like walk straight through the crowd onto the stage. There'll be like a little back door or something like that. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, I'll let you know in a year's time.
That's so good. it's funny because you're saying like, you know, you drink herbal tea and you meditate. And my friend who was performing the other week, before his set, like a few minutes before, he was like, okay, cool, I'm gonna go meditate. I thought, you know, having a beer and like, you know, you have a beer, you have a smoke, and that's kind of like what musicians do, which is now why my voice sounds like this. But yeah, no, it's interesting to hear that like what people actually, you know, what people see and think of musicians is completely different. Like there's actually you know, a sense of well-being.
Yeah, 100%. Like it's like, and as well, like it's so funny because you go to gigs and they're like, well, I never drink before I play, like ever. But like we'll get to gigs and they'll be like, oh, here's your rider, 12 beers, and I'm like, well, I'm driving home, so I can't do anything. Like I've literally got a fridge just full of rider beers, like from the tour we did in November, still like in my flat. So like it's literally just like
it's a memoir.
So yeah, exactly. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, like I'm so like not rock and roll with it whatsoever. But I think, to be honest, like I just really like, it means a lot to me. Like the shows mean a lot to me, and I just wanna. The thing is, like, if things go wrong, like I've kind of learnt now, especially after tour, like when we had technical difficulties and stuff, it's like you really can't manage that. But you can manage every other thing that you possibly can. Like if it was like, oh, I'm smashed and I like ruined and I messed up because of this, then it's like it's a proper big deal. Do you know what I mean? Like that would be for me. So it's like I'm just trying to take it as seriously as possible, to be honest.
Where would you see say you see yourself in 3 years, 4 years?
Oh, I have no idea because it's taken me 4 years to get to here. Do you know what I mean? So it's like, yeah, it's a hard one. Like I was doing everything up until a few months back on my own. Like I didn't have a manager, I didn't have any team or anything like that. Like especially, I had a team, but it was people I was working with kind of directly. So it's a lot to like take on your mind, like the creative side and the admin side and the business side and the networking side and all of that stuff. So like it has taken a while to get going, but this first month of the year is my first full year of first full-time year of music. And like things have picked up like way quicker than I thought they would in a month. So it's like if it continues doing that, like in 3 years time I want to be like doing thousand. Like I always said, like I want to be making like a solid living. That's when I'll be like, I've made it. Do you know what I mean? Like if I can just pay the bills, like everything like that, just so comfortably, then I'll be like, cool. Anything other than that is just ambition. And like I can definitely see myself like writing some big songs, playing some big shows. Like that's what I want to do. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, I'm hoping. I have no idea on like what those numbers are, but hopefully they're high.
Gotta aim high. Gotta aim high for sure. Definitely gotta aim high.
Yeah.
So then, like, that's really cool. Like, you know, you've taken that leap to really work on what you want to do. What was the moment for you where you were like, look, I'm like, I need music. Music. Like this is what I want to be doing.
Yeah. To be honest, like it was. It's a hard one because, like, in hindsight, when I was working, my plan was to leave uni in 2020. Be like a function musician, playing weddings, doing my artist thing, like all of that. Just living the skimp musician lifestyle, like absolutely taking it into my stride. And then the pandemic happened, everything was cancelled, and I worked in a warehouse for 2 years. And like, I look back on that, and I'm like, every job is fun for like. I really think like every job is pretty fun for like the first 6 months. Just it's like a new experience. You know what I mean? But it's like as soon as that kind of wore off, and then the weddings and stuff came back, and I was doing my artist project, and I'm working all of this different stuff. Like I was like, nah, I've got this. Like I'm a grafter. This is what it's all about. Like all of that. And then my mates were like, mate, you're just killing yourself, like working way too hard. Like I was so tired all the time. I was working like 7 days, and I'm talking like 9 to 5, and then go and play in Reading at someone's wedding, and then get back at 2 a.m. and then get up at 7 and do the da 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 da. So it's like, yeah, it was such a hard thing. But I think like I knew as soon as I hit the breaking point, I was like, yeah, it's definitely time for me to leave one of these jobs. Do you know what I mean? So I think like you've just got to take things at your own pace. Like everyone's like capacity for work and stuff is different. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, just whenever you reach it, to be honest, I would say just go for it.
Well, I think the fact that you're spending the time and making the effort to do what you're good at, but also something you're passionate about, makes a huge difference.
Yeah, 100%.
When it comes to making music for you, and I suppose if you had a handful of musicians in front of you right now who were trying to figure out what they wanted to do, what sort of advice would you give them starting off?
I would say just think about the music. Like that was something which I didn't do for ages. I was like, oh, I want to meet these people and all of this stuff. And like when I first started speaking to, like, having people come to gigs and stuff, when they heard the live show was good and I didn't have that much recorded stuff, like they come down and go, yeah, like you're really good, you just need better songs. And I'm like, oh, cheers, mate. like, I'll just write some better songs then, shall I? Like, these are the best songs I've ever heard in my life, obviously.
They loved it.
Do you know what I mean? So it's like, but I was so much younger, and I was like, I do not get that at all. And now I look back on it, and I'm just strictly doing creative stuff, like with a manager and stuff like this. It's like, as soon as I put all of my effort into just making the songs good and working on the craft itself, people do notice. Do you know what I mean? It's like you it's so cliche to say, but it's like just put yourself out there and make it good, and people will come to you. And when people aren't coming to you, it's so easy to hear that and be like, oh, it's easy for you to say.
Yeah.
But when it does happen to you, you're like, oh, that's why everyone says it. So yeah, that's for sure. Like, that's what I'd say. I really regret not just like locking myself in a room when I was just young, and not even a young thing, but like when you're starting and just getting to grips with it. Do you know what I mean? Like, because then you're just comfortable. When things do pick up, you have the conviction.
For sure.
Yeah, no, that's definitely true. I guess it's just similar for yourself with like baseball, right? Like, when you started, you obviously had to practice and stuff, and then when the game came, you're a little less kind of nervous about it, and you're ready to flow. It's like muscle memory. That's just
definitely mad. I love a good metaphor.
Yeah, 100%. That's it though. It's just like as long as you prepare, like they always say, the cliche saying, isn't it? Luck is preparation plus opportunity.
Yeah.
And it literally is like, it's so like, I'm such like, I love like all of the self-help stuff. Do you know what I mean? I've got like so many quotes in my head. And like, but it is so true. Like, it really does resonate with me. And as long as you're ready when you get put into those situations, or if you're a musician and you get that opportunity, like I missed opportunities because the songs weren't good enough. Do you know what I mean? It's like, as long as the craft's there, it doesn't matter if the head of Universal Records or whatever like sees you, if you're not good enough. Do you know what I mean? Sure. I'm sure they see a lot of people.
You were saying just now, when you first kind of started off, you were getting this feedback. Were you ever at a point where you were almost writing music, not necessarily for yourself, but trying to impress the audience or whoever you were sending out your content to?
Yeah, that's like, it's a strange one for me, because I have thought about this, like, I'm not sure I understand. Oh, sorry, sorry. Yeah. Wow. It's a strange one, because like I always say it like after I've finished a song or finished an idea, I'm always like, this is the smasher, this is the breakthrough song. But while I'm actually writing a tune, it never ever crosses my mind. Like, I never ever write a song thinking, oh, this is gonna get so many streams, or this is gonna be good for this, or this artist might like this, or something. Like, it really, really never crosses my mind, which is, I think, a really good thing, because absolutely. It seems like a problem that like a lot of people do have when you try and cater for another audience. Like, well, you can cater for your audience, but it has to resonate with what you're doing and like what your kind of ambitions are personally. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, as long as you're only thinking about it after you've written the song, I think that's fine, to be honest, because you just think of where to put the songs.
I think it's kind of it's an image of what kind of the younger generation is coming up. It's all about the likes and the comments and getting that exposure in that way. But when you're just chasing that,
for
it kind of takes away from what you're trying to achieve.
100%. I've never like it. I can not sit here and say like likes don't matter to me. I've never been affected by that. Like it's really literally only recently that I've been able to like drop my ego. Like I always like my manager said to me, like, you use Instagram like it's 2018. And I'm like, yeah, to be fair, I do. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm posting this thing and I'm like, oh, why does no one like my like completely pointless like photo of something which is so irrelevant? It's like, yeah, like you have to like, as long it's really just like about having the conviction in what you're doing. Like I was so like span out by like the you need better songs until I heard songs that I was like, this is actually really like way better than all my other songs, and I wrote it, and then other people are like, yeah, this is way better than your other songs and you wrote it. And when now that I have that conviction, it's so much easier. Do you know what I mean? It's not like you don't need that external validation of likes and so.
Would you say there's a certain element of the songs that you write where you're just like, yeah, that's a great song?
Yeah, 100%. Like sometimes like, because I'm writing a lot in rooms now with other people and stuff like that, not just on my own. Like you just kind of like hum something, and the people will be like, whatever, da, 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 da. Then you hum something else, and they all look up and they're like, oh, what's that? And you're like, oh, okay, this is it. Like, this is it. We roll with it. So yeah, like as long as like there's always something like I say, like it's if the music is there, something just pops into your head. I don't know what it is. It's so strange. Like someone called it I don't know who it was. I think it was like John Mayer or something called it fishing. So it's like you cast the
okay, that makes sense.
The line out, and you don't know if you're going to catch anything, but as long as you keep casting it out, like you've got a better chance of doing it. So it's just about putting the ideas out, and it could be a lyric, it could be a theme, it could be a melody or whatever. But as soon as it pops into your head, it's like, oh, yes, I've been waiting 8 hours for this.
Oh man, do you know what that makes you think of? You know, Minions when they kind of like,
yeah, literally.
And they create this like amazing
that is
harmony.
What it's like, yeah. It's
like,
not even words as well sometimes. You know what I mean? It's just like, yeah, you can just, whatever it is, if there's something that just pops the vision of the finished thing into your head, it's like, cool. It's something to work on.
Yeah, for sure. Would you say you're quite regimented in the way you generate ideas, or is it more of a case of it's like an aha moment here and an aha moment there?
Yeah, I definitely I'm a lot more regimented now. I'm full time. Like when I was working my 9 to 5, an idea pops into your head.
Yeah.
And you like sneak off on your phone, and you're like into voice notes. Like doesn't make sense. Like 5 hours later, when you get home, you're like, I have no idea what I was trying to do. But now I like make sure I sit down and I write like. Do you know what I mean? Though?
Imagine that, like you just in one of the cubicles.
What the hell did I mean, man?
Yeah, literally.
You right there, mate?
I'm just singing my heart out in the cubicle.
You get home, you just have this echoey sound.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so yeah, now I'm doing that. I'm a lot more regimented, and I'm writing a lot more regularly. And now I just sit down. The ideas pop into my head, and like it happens mostly with other people's songs. Like it sounds so bad to say. Like please no one sue me. Probably right. But like a lot of the time, because it's like the best producers in the world, they're making music that just brings stuff out of you. And like I might write something before that person's song, like the lyrics even come in, and an idea just pops into my head. And like when it's me trying to do it, just jangling away on my guitar, it takes me like 5 times as long as like this pro. Do you know what I mean?
What's funny about that is that I'd actually heard something from this like this videographer who said something quite similar. where he was like, over time he was kind of comparing himself to like the really top other videographers that are doing really well on YouTube. So he's comparing himself to them now. But then he took some time to think about it and started comparing himself to them in the position that he's in at that time. So rather than looking at the finished product, he's going, can I be better than them at the same time that they were roughly doing it at the same time as myself, if that makes sense.
100%.
Which is very similar to like what you're saying in that, you get inspiration from the people that have been doing a good job. Because
why else 5 years ahead of you?
Yeah.
100%. Like it's like there's a reason why they're at the top. Like those are the people who can make that stuff, and it's like sometimes these people have been in the game for so long, and you only hear about literally the top of the top. People think about being a musician, and you think of Ed Sheeran, you're like, if you're not doing Wembley Stadium, then what are you doing? And it's like you don't have to be Ed Sheeran to make a living off music and do what you love. It's just as long as you can get better, like as long as you're looking back on what you were doing 6 months ago, like that is so bad, then great. That's a great problem to have.
I do think there are a lot of unrealistic images that are created about what is possible and what is doable as an artist or any sort of job that you do. When you're in the limelight, you do kind of, as you said, you get that next level exposure to media and TV and radio, whatever. But I do think as an artist, and we've said this several times, it's about telling a story. And I think that it's not something that you see so often anymore. And when you find artists that can do that don't have that same sort of exposure as Ed Sheeran can obviously tell a story. That's probably why he is where he is. But then again, there are also musicians out there who don't tell the same story or have the ability to tell stories the same way other artists can. Put it that way.
Yeah, definitely. But you don't, like, as long as you're doing what you love, like,
exactly.
Like I say, you don't have, there's only one best songwriter in the world, and everyone else is just in there. And even that is subjective, like everyone can look at their idol or whatever and be like, I'd love to get there, but it's like, as long as you can do what you love and make an honest living and just craft your passion, then sick.
Definitely.
Yeah, that is so true. Like, for example, like what was it? Celine Dion didn't make that Rolling Stones top 200 vocalists.
Oh right.
Yeah, so like there's all these other people in it, and Sophia and I we still debate about this.
Hate Celine Dion.
I'm like, I'm like, yeah, well, she to be honest, I kind of see why she wasn't in it, but like all the other people that were in it, they had a sound that told stories, and unfortunately, I just feel like Celine Dion's a very good karaoke person.
I've never listened. Celine, if you're listening, I'm not involved in this conversation. Nah, like,
safe to say she'll never be a guest on the show.
Go mad, but it is very, it is subjective, right? Like,
for sure,
people will say that one person's really good, and someone will be like, well, no, I don't agree that person's good. So
I hear, like, I always think, like, I always say whenever I hear anything like that, or I think anything of that myself, like hear some shade from someone towards someone else, I'm like, or like so and so doesn't like Ed Sheeran, I'm like, I bet Ed Sheeran's sat at home just crying his eyes out. Do you know what I mean?
Wiping his tears.
Exactly. It's like, all right, as long as some people like it, that's why, like, you just have to have everyone's audience. Like, luckily, there's people who love classical, and luckily there's people who love whatever, soul, hip hop, like everything. Like, there really is just, that's the best thing about music. There's music for everyone, So,
on that topic, who would you say are your top 3 or top 5 favorite artists right now?
Right now, all right. John Bellion has come into the fold for me right now. He is a guy who is like, he's the guy from New York, and he's like the sickest, like, songwriter, producer, artist. Like, he says he's purposely underrated. So it's like, it's on purpose. I don't want to be famous. Like, that's sick. So him for sure. Anderson Paak is my like revelationary guy. I listened to like Malibu came out, I think either the year before or the year I went to uni. And when I went to uni, I was just like, I'm leaving the indie days behind. Like, I live in Brighton now. I listen to Anderson Paak like all day. Do you know what I mean? So yeah,
he's good grooves, man.
Yeah, he's always up there for sure. Yeah, he's so sick. He's always in there. Remy Wolf is an artist who is she's just so good. Like, I love every tune that she's released. Jack Johnson's always got to be in there. He's like I've loved his tunes. Like, I don't think there's anyone in the world who doesn't like Jack Johnson's tunes.
True.
He's always in there. And who else? I'm gonna say Little Sims.
Yeah.
Little Sims is
100%.
like, she's not missed. Like, I like heard her, like, I heard Grey Area when that came out, and ever since then,
She's missed the beat.
like, she hasn't literally. She's not put a foot wrong, and she's so sick.
That's
Like,
gonna be the most
gotta be
diverse
top
top 5.
yeah, but like, it literally changes from day to day. Like, I could have a day where I'm listening to like 145 BPM Jacking House, and I'm like, this like DJ from Bristol with like 500 followers on SoundCloud is my favorite artist. Or I could have like be having a bad day and be like, whatever, you know, like listen to some sad ballads or whatever. So yeah, it's got to be diverse.
Do you have any dream collaborations that you want to do? Dead or alive?
Mac Miller was always my like he was always my number one like rap verse on a tune. I would love that. He was always my number one. Little Sims for sure.
Little Sims, by the way, if you're watching this, check that out. He's already covered one of your tunes as well.
Yeah, I have.
Check that out.
Plenty more to come as well. Little Sims for sure. I've got to say Anderson Paak anyway. And like, to be honest, like, I would love to make a tune with Tom Misch on production.
Yeah.
So when people are like, oh, that song sounds like Tom Misch, I can be like, yeah, it is. They're like, yeah, it does actually.
That's a full circle
Exactly.
moment.
Do you know what I mean? Like that. But he's so sick. Like, I just want him to release a new album. To be honest.
Yeah. Yeah, Tom, get out the house.
Come on, mate. Or get in the house and start making more tunes. Yeah, those are probably like, but like I say, like, it changes all the time. There's so many like producers who I'd love to at the moment go in a room with them and just songwriters and just see how they work. But that's just selfishly trying to make myself get better.
I mean, that's what you got to do. You got to learn. You learn from the ones that you inspire, and you learn from the best, right?
For sure.
The only way you can, learn is by studying them and
100%.
being in that environment. It's like that saying of well, one, you're a product of your own environment, and two, the other saying about like hanging around with the 6 people, or I can't remember what it is.
Yeah.
You know, hanging around with 6.
You're a combination of like all your best friends.
Surround yourself with.
Yeah, 100%. It's so true.
What would you say your biggest challenge is now then, given that you've kind of taken that step from working another job to now being full-time in music?
Yeah.
You've obviously faced, I'm sure, a number of challenges over the last 4 years, but moving forwards, what do you foresee, or what are you experiencing right now?
Yeah, my like last challenge was starting to work with a manager and having to let go of representing myself and having to be like, I trust you to someone else, when like I've built something up over like 4 hard, like, strong years, and I'm like, if this goes wrong, like, that's bad news for me. Do you know what I mean? Like, that was a big just mental thing, which has been the best thing I've ever done. So I've got through that, but like right now it's probably just it's patience for me. Like, I'm so like, because I was self-managed for so long, it's like, oh, I want to do this, cool, I'll just go and do it. Do you know what I mean? And like, with release schedules and stuff like this and planning far in advance, like, just keeping enthusiastic about stuff when you're like, I just want to put this song out now, I know it's going to be good. And then in 3 months time you've already written another song that you're like, I don't want to put this song out anymore, this one's way better. Yeah, that's the thing. Like, just everything that comes with, to to be honest, like just being self-employed and everything is just like having to plan in advance and like all of that time management, like days, just like even weeks, just go like that. It's like crazy. Yeah, to be honest, like I can't say like I really can't say a bad thing about where I'm at the moment. Like I've never been like happier or like more motivated or anything.
When you think about it, it is literally just like running a business. It is a job, like and that fear of letting go and leave it and putting someone else in charge.
For sure.
You know what I mean? But then I guess that also then gives you more space and freedom to be able to be creative.
Exactly. Because because like with music as well, it's backwards. It's like the manager. Yeah. It's like the artist is actually probably the boss in the grand scheme of things, but the manager is the person who represents them and like liaises with them all the time. So it's like when you're used to just like if I mess something up, I'm like, well, that's classic me. Like I'm not a manager. What do I know? You know what I mean? Like, I'm like, well, that's absolutely fine. Like I've just got to take the L on that. But now it's like, we can't mess things up. No, you know. Now I've just got to like write good tunes, which is like way like it's not harder. Definitely, managers do sick stuff, but it's like it's even harder because you never know what you're gonna get. You know, if you're doing business stuff, it's like, okay, I have to objectively have a meeting with so and so. It's not like, oh, I'm gonna write a number one today. I've done it. Sick. It's like, well, I've written a song. I don't know if it's good or not.
So talk to us a little about what's coming this year.
Many songs. I'm going into like I'm doing a lot of features. I'm releasing a lot of music. Like starting next month, it's just going to be just smashing the music out, just like again and again until everyone gets tired of me. Hopefully in like 20 years. Hopefully in 20 years when I can just like chill out. Do you know what I mean? But it's just going to be smashing that out. I've got some sick, like I love dance music. I want to get into some dance stuff. I just want to make music which is vibes and put it out and then play the live shows, and that's literally what I'm gonna do. Like I've got just the year in my head. I can't say obviously everything I'm gonna do. Some sick festivals in spring. And then just releasing a load of music that I think is really good and hoping that other people think it's good too.
You make some really good music, and I'm looking forward to seeing what's coming this year.
Nice.
Oh man, like I'm excited for so I hope you have some stuff out in the summers because like I'm excited. I really need some
summer vibes.
Oh yeah, there's definitely gonna be some summer vibes. Don't worry, mate. There's gonna be some serious summer vibes. Yeah, I'm definitely. I don't make music for winter.
That's left up for Mariah Carey and Wham.
That's it, exactly. Christmas single coming this year.
Bring it on.
Can you hear a loop version of Mariah Carey?
Oh yeah, big time.
Oh man, brilliant. Well, look, it's been really cool having you, man. I appreciate you taking the time. So I think we're gonna jump into a couple of songs.
Let's do it.
Sick.
I appreciate you having me.
Let's go.